Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are interviewing different nations to figure out different types of governments and to inform the people of America. To start off the segment, we are talking about the United States Republic, meaning that the country is governed by elected officials who are elected by the people, and out of its local, state, and federal level, and how the government operates under a system of laws and political power that is only allowed by the consent of the people. All right, today we are interviewing Soviet Russia and on their communist government. Welcome, Gabriel May.
Thank
Now,
you.
please tell us about your communist government.
So, hello from Soviet Russia. We are an authoritarian one-party system that's dominated by the Communist Party. The power is concentrated in the hands of a few top leaders, and particularly the General Secretary of the Communist Party. The system is emphasized with central planning, state control over the economy, and repression of dissent.
Wow, what an interesting fellow. Back to you at the studio, Jim. We are live from Great Britain, here to interview the Queen T. How are you doing, Queen T?
Oh man, I'm doing amazing.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the
Hey,
single
how about you
ladies.
tell us about your monarchy, Queen T?
A monarchy is a system of government where a single ruler, often called a king, queen, or emperor, holds supreme authority, usually inherited through a royal family. The monarch's powers can vary, with some monarchs holding absolute control and others serving in a more symbolic way.
How interesting. I wonder what would have happened if America became a monarchy back in 1776. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving our way to ancient Greece, particularly in Athens, where we will be discussing an early form of government called democracy.
You know it.
Booyakasha.
Ancient Greece, particularly in Athens, developed one of the earliest forms of democracy where citizens participated directly in decision-making rather than electing representatives. This system allowed free male citizens to vote on laws, policies, and public matters in large assemblies. However, this democracy was limited, as it excluded women, slaves, and foreigners from participation in the political process, along with some inefficiency since so many people had to vote and agree.
That is super awesome, Mr. Democrat. I appreciate your time. To conclude, all my gals and pals, the governments are all comparable to America, but we will leave it up to you, the watchers, to decide which form of government you like the best.
Hello. Your name is Fitzgerald, right?
Correct. Straight from the Straits of South Wales.
Well, let me give you a tour of New York City.
Still can't believe you boys have gotten away from King George.
Yep, all with the help of the Articles of Confederation.
They can't be that impactful, can it?
Actually, it's very impactful. It set up the basis of what the American democracy is today.
And what is that? Carrying around guns and eating cheeseburgers?
No, it gets the people included in the government, being able to vote and run for political influence.
Well, what about your Bill of Rights?
Well, like your Bill of Rights, ours is inspired by the thoughts of John Locke's natural rights.
Well, what's an example of these rights?
The First Amendment is free speech and press. For example,
He's supposed to not propaganda! Get out!
I said get down. What are you doing? What are you gonna do, shake him?
This has to be illegal.
The shooting is, but he has a right to carry because of the Second Amendment.
That's rubbish. I hope he goes to jail for this.
Well, he might, but according to the Sixth Amendment, he has a right to a speedy and fair trial, so we don't know what will happen.
Is there any way he's put away for life?
Well, if he were in another state maybe, since states have their own laws, but most likely no.
Your laws suck.
Tell that to James Madison. Oh, shucks. I wish I really knew more about the branches of the government.
Well, it's your lucky day, because I'm from the executive branch, where we execute and enforce laws. The president is a part of this branch, as well as the vice president and the cabinet.
Hello. I'm a Supreme Court Justice. There are many different types of courts in the U.S., and they help to protect individual laws and interpret the Constitution, including the Supreme Court and lower-level courts.
And I'm from the legislative. We write and pass the laws. Some things you may know that we impact are healthcare, taxes, and education. We are made up of the Senate, with 2 reps per each state, and the House of Representatives with 335, which is based on population.
Wow, I really see the different branches of government, but why not have one large combined government?
Well, youngin', the U.S. used to be a confederation and have a central government, but they didn't have enough control over the country, so they couldn't organize anything.
Also, by splitting up power between branches, one group cannot have absolute control of government. It also makes change slower, which may seem bad initially, but when you think about it, because change is slower, one group cannot quickly come in and make lots of change that harms or does not benefit the American people. So it just stops like a dictatorship or a monarchy.
With the 3 branches, there are checks and balances between each branch, so one branch cannot have too much power.
You mentioned some checks and balances. Could you explain some of those?
Yeah, I could do that. The legislative branch can override presidential decisions with a majority of 2 to 3 vote, reject presidential appointments, and impeach federal officials.
The executive branch can veto bills, appoint judges and officials, and use executive orders to get around the long legislative process.
Finally, the judicial branch can interpret laws and strike them down if they're unconstitutional.
Wow, now that I understand how the branches work, what do the regular citizens of the U.S. fit in?
In the legislative, people can vote for senators and representatives, attend hearings, contact legislators, and advocate for change in their communities.
People can serve on juries, support cases, and stay informed on any current cases or issues.
For the executive, people can vote for the president.
Wow, I've learned so much about the different branches of government. Make sure you're doing your part.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies.
Hello everybody. Today's discussion will entail two subjects: early voting, cats versus dogs. To start, early voting will help people from all rural areas share their opinions. However, we must work to combat voter fraud.
Hello, I'm from the MSNBC. The president is very concerned with the dangers of effects of early voting, such as voter fraud. The Democratic Party strongly warns against this.
Hello, I'm from the American Conservative right-hand side. The president is happy to say that people in more rural areas will be able to vote efficiently and easily.
What the president really said is that there needs to be a careful eye on the votes to prevent fraud, but early voting will help people as well.
I know that for some people, this would be against the decision to enact early voting. But we, as a nation, need to progress as a society.
The president is enacting a great voting act that will advance the U.S. as a nation.
This plan is terrible. The president is forcing people to vote using this way because he wants to advance the nation. However, he's not taking into account people's feelings. This is unconstitutional.
The thing with early voting is that there will be some drawbacks, but in the long run, it could revolutionize voting and help many people.
Now to advance to the more important subject, cats versus dogs. Dogs are a good pet for family. However, a cat is a lower maintenance, which makes it better for busy households.
The president just said the only choice for a family pet should be a dog that's going to help with stress and deters intruders.
The president just said that cats are useless animals and anyone who gets them is lonely. This is blasphemy.
What the president really said is that cats are less maintenance than dogs, so weighing your work-life situation before you get a pet is very important. Basically, the idea is that when you are getting your information, it's important to look at different media outlets, as some could have bias. While all media outlets have bias, the center media outlets have less bias, or they weigh both sides almost equally.
I give this presentation 3 big booms.
Boom! Boom! Boom!